I, 28F, have been with my boyfriend Callum, 30M, for 5 years now. We met during my final year of college when I was interning at the marketing firm where he worked. At first, I was hesitant to date someone from work, but Callum's charm and kindness won me over. We kept things professional at the office, but outside of work, we quickly fell for each other. After I graduated and got a job at a different company, we moved in together. The past 3 years of living together have been amazing. We've weathered some storms, like when Callum lost his job during company downsizing and was unemployed for 6 months, or when I had to take a pay cut during the pandemic. But through it all, we've grown stronger as a couple. Last month, Callum proposed during a weekend trip to the beach where we had our first vacation together. It was perfect. He got down on one knee at sunset, and I was so happy I could barely speak through my tears. We immediately started planning our wedding for next summer. One of the first things we discussed was our honeymoon. Both of us love traveling, but we haven't been able to do much of it due to financial constraints and work commitments. We've been saving up for years to go on an epic 3-week trip to Europe after our wedding. We were so excited about visiting Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. It was going to be the trip of a lifetime. We've both always dreamed of seeing Europe. Callum is a history buff and can't wait to explore the ancient ruins in Rome. I've been taking French classes for the past year in preparation for our time in Paris. We've spent countless evenings planning our itinerary, looking at hotels, and dreaming about the memories we'll make. Last week, we went to Callum's parents' house for our monthly family dinner. These dinners started when Callum's sister Caitlin, 26F, moved back to town 2 years ago after a bad breakup. She was in a dark place, and their mom Elaine, 55F, thought regular family gatherings would help her feel supported. Since then, it's become a tradition. Callum's dad Bob, 57M, was there too, along with Caitlin and her new husband Edward, 28M. They got married just 6 months ago after a whirlwind romance. It was a small, rushed wedding because Caitlin had found out she was pregnant. The whole family is still adjusting to this sudden change. During dinner, Bob brought up our upcoming wedding and asked about our honeymoon plans. We enthusiastically told them about our Europe trip, sharing some of the details we've been excitedly planning. Everyone seemed happy for us, especially since they know we haven't been able to travel much before. Then, out of nowhere, Elaine dropped a bombshell. She announced that she and Bob had been planning a surprise for their 35th wedding anniversary this year. They wanted to take the entire family on a 2-week cruise to Alaska in August, exactly when Callum and I had planned our honeymoon. I was stunned. Elaine went on and on about how they'd already put down deposits for everyone, including us. She talked about whale watching, glacier tours, and family bonding time. The whole time, I could feel my heart sinking. Our carefully planned honeymoon was being hijacked right before my eyes. As Elaine spoke, I noticed Caitlin looking uncomfortable. Later, she confided that she and Edward had also been planning a belated honeymoon for August, which they'd have to cancel if they went on this cruise. I felt a pang of sympathy for her. It seemed like Elaine had a habit of making plans for everyone without considering their existing commitments. Callum seemed torn. I could tell he was excited about the cruise idea, but he also knew how much our Europe trip meant to me. When Elaine asked what we thought, Callum hesitantly said it sounded great, but we'd need to discuss it. On the drive home, I couldn't hold back my frustration. I told Callum how upset I was that his parents had planned this without consulting us, knowing we were planning our honeymoon. Callum tried to calm me down, saying maybe we could do both trips. But I pointed out that we'd been saving for years for our Europe trip, and we couldn't afford to do both. Plus, I only get 3 weeks of vacation time per year, which we planned to use for our honeymoon. Callum suggested we could postpone our Europe trip to next year, but I felt crushed. I'd been dreaming about this honeymoon for so long, and now it felt like it was being taken away from me. I told Callum I didn't want to spend our honeymoon with his entire family. I wanted it to be just us. I also brought up how this seemed to be a pattern with his mom. I reminded him of how she had insisted on throwing us an engagement party just a week after we got engaged, even though we had told her we wanted some time to ourselves first. Or how she had tried to convince us to buy a house in their neighborhood when we were looking for our first apartment together. The past week has been tense. Callum's family keeps texting us about cruise details, asking if we're excited. Elaine has sent links to cruise websites and even suggested we could renew our vows on the ship, never mind that we won't even be married yet. Callum says he doesn't want to disappoint his parents, especially since they've already put down deposits. But I feel like our wishes are being completely ignored. I love Callum's family, but I can't help feeling resentful. This was supposed to be our special time as newlyweds, and now it's turning into a family reunion. I'm also worried about Caitlin. She confided in me that she's struggling with the idea of being on a cruise while pregnant, but she's afraid to speak up to her mom. Callum says I'm being selfish and ungrateful for not appreciating his parents' generosity. But I feel like my feelings are valid too. I've always tried to be accommodating to his family. I agreed to have Christmas at their house last year even though it was supposed to be my family's turn. I helped Elaine plan Caitlin's baby shower even though I was swamped at work. I feel like I'm always compromising, and this honeymoon was supposed to be about us. I'm also worried about the precedent this sets for our marriage. If we give in now, will Elaine always expect to have a say in our plans? Will our lives revolve around her whims? I love Callum, but I'm starting to worry about whether he'll be able to set boundaries with his family once we're married. Am I being unreasonable for wanting to stick to our original honeymoon plans? Should I just suck it up and go on the cruise? Or should I put my foot down and insist on our Europe trip, even if it means disappointing Callum's family? I'm torn and could really use some outside perspective. Update 1. Thank you all for your responses and support. Your comments gave me the courage to have a serious talk with Callum about the situation. I explained to him how important our original honeymoon plans were to me and how hurt I felt that his family was steamrolling over our wishes. To my relief, Callum finally understood where I was coming from. He admitted that he had been caught up in the excitement of the cruise idea and hadn't fully considered how it would impact our plans and my feelings. We had a long, honest conversation about our priorities as a couple and the importance of setting boundaries with family. During our talk, we delved into some deeper issues that had been simmering beneath the surface. Callum confessed that he often felt torn between pleasing his parents and making me happy. He grew up in a family where his parents' wishes were always prioritized, and he struggled with the idea of disappointing them. I shared my fears about always coming second to his family's demands and my worry that this pattern would continue after we were married. We also discussed Callum's sister Caitlin and her situation. Callum revealed that he had noticed Caitlin seemed unhappy lately, and he was worried about her. We both agreed that the cruise might not be the best thing for her, especially given her pregnancy. After hours of discussion, we decided to stick to our original Europe honeymoon plans. Callum agreed to talk to his parents and explain our decision. He was nervous about it, so we practiced what he would say. I offered to be there with him for support when he made the call. The next day, Callum called his parents with me by his side. The conversation didn't go as smoothly as we'd hoped. Elaine was clearly disappointed and tried to guilt-trip us, saying how much money they'd already spent and how the whole family was looking forward to having us there. She brought up how she had always dreamed of taking a family cruise and how she thought it would be a perfect way to welcome me into the family. Bob was more understanding but still tried to convince us to change our minds. He suggested we could do both trips, not seeming to understand our financial and time constraints. At one point, he even offered to pay for our Europe trip if we would agree to go on the cruise first. Callum stood firm, though. I was proud of how he handled it. He explained that while we appreciated their generous offer, we had our hearts set on our Europe trip, and it was important for us to have that time alone as newlyweds. He also pointed out that they should have consulted us before making plans that affected our honeymoon. The conversation got heated when Elaine accused me of turning Callum against the family. Callum shut that down immediately, making it clear that this was our decision as a couple. He also brought up Caitlin's situation, suggesting that maybe a cruise wasn't the best idea for her right now either. His parents weren't thrilled, but they eventually accepted our decision. They said they'd try to get a refund on our portion of the deposits, but if they couldn't, they'd cover the cost. Callum offered to pay them back, but they declined. The aftermath has been a bit awkward. Caitlin called me the next day, upset that we're ruining the family trip. I calmly explained our side, but I could tell she was still unhappy. However, as we talked, she opened up about her own reservations about the cruise. I encouraged her to talk to her parents about it, assuring her that it was okay to prioritize her own needs. Some other family members have been giving us the cold shoulder on social media. Callum's aunt posted a passive-aggressive status about ungrateful young people, which we're pretty sure was aimed at us. His cousin, who was also invited on the cruise, sent Callum a message saying we were being selfish. Despite the family drama, I feel relieved that we stood our ground. Callum and I are now excitedly planning our Europe honeymoon, and it feels even more special knowing we fought for it together. This experience has brought us closer and shown me that Callum is willing to prioritize our relationship over family pressure. We've started looking at hotels in Paris and researching the best times to visit the Colosseum in Rome. We're even thinking about adding a few days in Greece to our itinerary. Planning this trip together has reminded us why we're getting married in the first place, because we want to build a life together, full of adventures and shared experiences. This situation has also prompted us to have some important conversations about our future. We've talked about how we'll handle holidays, how often we'll visit family, and how we'll make decisions as a couple. We've even started premarital counseling to ensure we're on the same page about these important issues. We're still figuring out how to navigate the family dynamics going forward. Callum has suggested that we start hosting some family gatherings at our place, to show that we still value family time. We're also planning to have another conversation with his parents once things have calmed down, to establish some boundaries and expectations for the future. For now, we're focusing on our upcoming wedding and the amazing honeymoon we'll have afterward. We're determined not to let this family drama overshadow our special day. We know there might be some tension at the wedding, but we're hopeful that by then, everyone will have come around and be happy for us. This experience, while stressful, has ultimately made us stronger as a couple. We've learned the importance of communication, standing united, and prioritizing our relationship. I'm more confident than ever that Callum and I can handle whatever challenges come our way in our marriage. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. The family tension over our decision to skip the cruise for our Europe honeymoon continued to simmer. Callum's mom Elaine kept making passive-aggressive comments whenever we saw her, and his sister Caitlin was still giving us the cold shoulder. We tried to keep things civil, focusing on our wedding plans and our upcoming Europe trip. We've booked most of our accommodations and have been practicing our French and Italian. Callum even surprised me by signing us up for a couples cooking class where we'll learn to make authentic Italian pasta. Despite the family drama, we were determined to stay excited about our future. Things came to a head last week at Callum's cousin's birthday party. The whole family was there, including some extended family members we hadn't seen in a while. At first, everything seemed fine. We chatted with relatives, played party games, and enjoyed the food. But after a few hours, somehow the topic of the cruise came up. Elaine started talking about all the fun activities they had planned, pointedly saying things like, "It's such a shame everyone won't be there to enjoy it." She went on about how it was going to be such a special family bonding experience, giving me significant looks the whole time. I tried to keep my cool, making polite conversation and steering the topic away from the cruise whenever I could. But after a few drinks, I couldn't hold back anymore. When Elaine made yet another comment about how some people don't appreciate family time, I finally snapped. I confronted Elaine, telling her that her behavior was unfair and that she needed to respect our decision. I pointed out that we had told them about our honeymoon plans months ago, and it wasn't right for her to try to guilt us into changing them. Things got heated quickly, with Elaine accusing me of being selfish and ungrateful. Soon, the whole family was involved in the argument. Caitlin jumped in, revealing that she had been feeling pressured about the cruise too, especially given her pregnancy. Callum's aunt defended Elaine, saying she was just trying to do something nice for the family. Callum's cousin, the birthday boy, looked mortified that his party had turned into a family feud. Callum backed me up, telling his mom that her behavior was pushing us away, not bringing the family closer. He reminded everyone that a honeymoon is supposed to be a special time for newlyweds, not a family vacation. The argument ended with Elaine in tears and Bob trying to calm everyone down. We left the party early, both of us shaken by what had happened. On the drive home, we were quiet, processing the events of the night. We both felt terrible that things had escalated so dramatically, but also relieved in a way that everything was out in the open. In the aftermath of the party, Callum and I had another long talk. We realized that this issue was causing a major rift in his family, and we needed to find a way to address it once and for all. We decided to invite his parents over for dinner to hash things out. The dinner was tense at first. Elaine barely made eye contact with me, and Bob seemed uncomfortable. But as we talked, some surprising truths came out. It turned out that Elaine and Bob were having some marital issues, and Elaine had hoped this family cruise would help bring everyone closer together. She saw our refusal to go as a rejection of the family. We explained our side again, emphasizing that it wasn't about rejecting the family, but about wanting to start our marriage with a special trip just for us. We also pointed out that springing this on us without consultation wasn't fair. Callum talked about how he felt torn between his parents and me, and how that wasn't a healthy dynamic for anyone. After a lot of back and forth, we finally reached a compromise. Callum and I would stick to our Europe honeymoon plans, but we agreed to join the family for a long weekend at their lake house later in the year. This way, we get our special newlywed time, but also show our commitment to family bonding. Elaine and Bob seemed satisfied with this solution. They apologized for trying to force the cruise on us and promised to be more considerate in the future. We also agreed to have more open communication going forward to prevent misunderstandings like this. The atmosphere in the family has improved since then. Caitlin called to apologize for her behavior, admitting that she had been taking out her own frustrations on us. She and Edward have decided to skip the cruise too, opting for a relaxing baby moon instead. Most of the other family members have come around, realizing that the situation could have been handled better by everyone. This whole experience has been a crash course in setting boundaries and navigating family dynamics as an engaged couple. It hasn't been easy, but I feel like Callum and I have come out stronger for it. We've learned the importance of standing our ground, communicating clearly, and finding compromises that work for everyone. Now we can finally focus on our wedding and honeymoon without this cloud hanging over us. We're back to being excited about our Europe trip, and we're even thinking about ways to share our experience with the family when we return, like hosting a dinner where we cook dishes from each country we visited. While there's still some tension, it feels like we're moving in the right direction. We're hopeful that by the time our wedding rolls around, this will all be water under the bridge, and we can celebrate our love surrounded by a happy, supportive family. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have turned out. Callum and I got married 2 months ago, and it was a beautiful day. Despite the earlier drama, the wedding went smoothly, and both our families came together to celebrate our love. The ceremony was everything we had hoped for. We wrote our own vows, which brought tears to everyone's eyes. Even Elaine, who had been so difficult earlier, was beaming with pride as she watched her son get married. The reception was a joyous celebration, with great food, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. It felt like all the tension from the past few months had melted away. After the wedding, we went on our European honeymoon as planned. It was absolutely magical, everything we had dreamed of and more. We explored the charming streets of Paris, marveled at the ancient history in Rome, and enjoyed the vibrant culture and beaches of Barcelona. Having that time alone together as newlyweds was precious, and it reinforced that we made the right decision in sticking to our original plans. One of the highlights of our trip was a cooking class we took in Tuscany. We learned to make pasta from scratch and enjoyed our meal with a stunning view of the Italian countryside. We sent pictures to Callum's family, and to our surprise, Elaine responded with genuine enthusiasm, saying she couldn't wait to hear all about our adventures. As for the family situation, things have improved significantly. True to our word, we joined Callum's family for a long weekend at their lake house last month. We were a bit apprehensive at first, but it turned out to be a really enjoyable time. Elaine and Bob seemed to have worked through some of their issues, and the whole family dynamic was much more relaxed. We spent time kayaking on the lake, having barbecues, and playing board games in the evenings. It was nice to see everyone without the pressure of a big event or unresolved tensions. Caitlin and Edward brought their new baby, and it was heartwarming to see how the whole family doted on the little one. During the lake house trip, Elaine pulled me aside and apologized again for the cruise drama. She admitted that she had been projecting her own issues onto us and thanked us for standing our ground. She confessed that seeing how happy we were after our honeymoon made her realize that we had made the right choice. It was a heartfelt moment that helped heal the last of the lingering tension. Caitlin and I have also repaired our relationship. She confessed that she had been jealous of our Europe trip, which contributed to her initial reaction. We've since bonded over her experiences as a new mom, and she's even asked me to be her daughter's godmother. Bob has made efforts to connect with us too. He started a tradition of monthly family game nights, which has been a fun, low-pressure way for all of us to spend time together. It's nice to see him taking an active role in bringing the family together in a way that respects everyone's boundaries. Looking back, while the conflict was stressful at the time, it ultimately strengthened our relationships. Callum and I learned valuable lessons about communication, boundary setting, and presenting a united front. His family learned to respect our decisions as a couple, and we all gained a better understanding of each other's perspectives. We're now looking forward to the future with excitement. Callum and I are talking about starting a family of our own in the next year or two. We've started saving for a bigger house, and we're discussing how we want to balance our careers with parenthood. It's exciting to plan our future together, knowing that we can handle whatever challenges come our way. And yes, we're already planning our next big trip, this time, with the full support and understanding of our families. We're thinking about exploring Asia next year, and Elaine has even offered to help us research the best places to visit. This experience taught us that building a life together sometimes means navigating difficult situations, but with love, communication, and mutual respect, it's possible to find solutions that work for everyone. I'm grateful for the growth we've all experienced and excited for what the future holds for us as a family. As I look at Callum across our dining table, planning our next adventure together, I'm filled with love and appreciation. We've come a long way from that tense family dinner months ago, and I'm proud of how we've grown as a couple and as part of a larger family unit.